This is Marketing from the Front Lines, where we speak with B2B marketers who are in the trenches, bringing technology to market. Here's your host, Brett Stapper, CEO of Frontlines.io.
Hey everyone, and thanks for listening. Today we're speaking with Omer Maman, VP of Marketing at Healthee. Omer, how are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Really excited for this conversation. How we like to begin these conversations is the big question of why and how did you end up in this world of marketing?
Oh, it's nice. Actually, if I go backwards to my career, basically I started my career as an engineer. But quickly after I graduated, I realized that while I'm very interested in technology and innovation, I'm more passionate about the business side of innovation and technology and the integration of this together. So I kind of navigated my career through, started as an engineer, but then navigated into product management roles and then product marketing and taking executive roles in marketing, mainly in early stage startups and growth phase startups. Also worked as fractional CMO and consulted to other health tech oriented startups. So yeah, that's how I got to this place.
You must like pain then. If you've dedicated it to startups and working in startups, whether it's a startup or growth stage, a lot of pain.
Right. A lot of pain, but a lot of passion and excitement about creating things from scratch. This is where I believe I can bring the most, creative and sometimes even crazy ideas and then make, gold out of them. It's exciting. And I'm also very, very addicted to the pace of startups, how quickly things can move from 0 to 1. That's one of the most exciting positions in these companies.
My company, we work with a bunch of different companies, are mostly startups, but we have one client that's, enterprise. They have about 9,000 employees. And the pace that they move is truly astonishing. Like, I can't even imagine it. Like, it literally takes 6 months to do one little teeny tiny thing. I just can't imagine if that was life, working in an environment that just moves at such a slow pace. I get it. It's for some people, I would absolutely lose my mind.
Yeah, so I don't know if in the questions in the interview, you have a question of what breaks you. So this is exactly what can break me. I mean, when I see that things move slower than I think, then that's exactly the time when I say to myself, okay, probably there must be another way and we need to do things differently.
You mentioned creativity there, and I think the word was craziness. Obviously, you're in the healthcare space. How crazy can you get? I feel like that's a space with a lot of guardrails.
Right. I agree with you. And to be honest with you, it's exactly where the challenge is because it's a very, I would say, conservative industry sometimes, or for a few health tech companies, it might be even super regulated industry. And it's really, really hard to be creative and think outside the box when you are obligated to many or limited with many, many regulation policies. And if you're a global company, so it's different regulation in different location and areas. But that's exactly where the challenge is, right? And it can break you down or the opposite. It can make the best or the most creative thoughts out of you because, when you're obligated to FDA or any other policy, then you can't say everything that you want to say. You need to back everything up with clinical trials, but they can take years until you can be clear to say something or to claim for something. But I look at the bright side and I see, hey, this is exactly where creativity steps in. So if I can't say this, I can find a different and more, I would say, creative narrative to convey the exact same message.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense too, right? Because I guess there's kind of two different ways to look at it. What's harder, being in a space like you're in where there's some guardrails on how creative you can be, but I would assume that a lot of your competitors are boring, not crazy, not doing interesting stuff, or be in like a world where it's, no guardrails, everyone's creative, everyone's doing crazy shit. Like, that's probably much harder to stand out there. I think I'd rather be in the boring industry or the conservative industry where I can stand out versus going against all the other marketers who are just going crazy, doing crazy stuff.
I agree with you. And at the end of the day, also, I think that it's also an opportunity and it's like a sweet reminder that we also have some kind of responsibility as marketeers, right? Mm-hmm. Because especially in the health tech industry, at the end of the day, we are here to make impact and to make people healthier or improve people's lives. And it comes with the fame, it comes with a lot of responsibility because you don't want to mislead patients or people. And you want to make sure that they take the right decisions when it comes to their healthcare or to their dependents care. So it's also a great and super important reminder because, with creativity as being like a very, I would say, innovative marketer, as you said, you can go crazy, right? And sometimes you need some kind of boundaries and reminders that at the end of the day, there are patients, there are users, there are people at the other side of this, I would say, equation that you need to care about. And you want to make sure that they really understand, the full picture, and they can understand the full picture and what comes with it.
If we zoom out and take a look at just your general marketing philosophy, how would you describe or define your marketing philosophy?
So my marketing philosophy basically is, that great marketing shortens the distance between someone's problem to its solution. And to be honest with you, that's exactly the reason why I chose to spend my entire career in health tech companies, because it's exactly what we're here for. We are here to make people healthier, to give people better access to their healthcare, and to shorten the time that it takes from the pain to its remedy. And I think this is exactly where marketing comes in, where you can shorten time with good messaging and good experience from, I can give you an example with how we rebuilt our onboarding emails, where we really wanted to optimize the time that it takes, or actually to eliminate all the frictions between the time that it takes for a patient to find a doctor to really book an appointment, from 6 minutes down to 90 seconds. And I think this is exactly where strong messaging, a focus on experience and understanding the journey can definitely, shine and make the process flawless and frictionless.
This show is brought to you by Frontlines Media, a podcast production studio that helps B2B founders launch, manage, and grow their own podcast. Now, if you're a founder, you may be thinking, I don't have time to host a podcast. I've got a company to build. Well, that's exactly what we built our service to do. You show up and host, and we handle literally everything else. To set up a call to discuss launching your own podcast, visit frontlines.io/podcast. Now, back to today's episode.
What's a marketing best practice that you hear in communities or maybe on LinkedIn that you disagree with?
I will tell you, the most famous topic that is being talked right now in the, I would say, marketing networks is AI, right? Everybody talks about AI. Every other tech company add AI to their portfolio, say that they have AI, whether if they have AI or they don't have AI. And I'm a huge advocate of AI. My company is an AI company. And also each and every one of my team members have an AI goal that basically as many AI tools as possible. But I totally disagree that AI today is mature enough to replace functions in company or replace people. That's something in the narrative that I still don't accept, and I don't want to see how it goes this way. I think that AI today is to help us not to replace functions, so to help us scale, do things faster, way more efficient, way more personalized, and way more accurate and data-backed. And I think that we as marketers should have the responsibility to navigate the narrative towards this direction and talk about AI in this context. And by that, we can also put AI in a more positive context, because unfortunately, when I hear AI talks today, it's usually mentioned in a very negative context. AI is going to take my job. AI is going to start a World War III. AI is going to ruin the world and things like that. And I think that if we'll know how to, we are marketers, right? So it's all about messaging and the story that you tell, and the positioning that you make or you do. So if we'll understand AI capabilities today and we'll put it in the right context, I think that would be easier for other companies or other teams to embrace it and leverage it to its max. And by the way, we also have to remember that, and this is something that our CEO says every single day, we have to remember that AI today is the worst it's going to ever be, right? Because it's just getting better every day, exponentially. We see new tools coming out. So we might get to a place that we'll need to change the entire workforce or the way that we build companies. But I disagree that it's mature enough at this point today to be at this place. And we can make the best out of it if we just put it in the right context.
It's interesting. What I'm seeing shape is this, kind of conflict between different groups on how they want to market AI. On one hand, you have kind of what you just described, which say is more the responsible for approach. It's more about, productivity and being a co-pilot and supporting, not replacement. And then you have, others that are, I won't name the company and I don't really have an opinion against them, but I don't know if they have the billboards in New York, but all over San Francisco, they had these billboards of fire your humans, AI is here. And it was a very controversial campaign. I applaud them because they generated a lot of buzz. a lot of anger on LinkedIn. But I was reading through some of the comments trying to understand the anger, and it was kind of what you were just describing there. I think people were saying, like, hey, you're creating harm to this entire industry because people are going to be afraid of it. And then that's going to lead to regulation. It's going to lead to bans, like all of this negative stuff. So it's going to be interesting. Because, like, I think those two worlds are going to exist forever. There's going to be like the ethical side of AI marketing and probably like, I don't want to say unethical, but whatever that opposite would be.
I totally agree. And just to mention one thing, we always have to remember as marketeers that real marketing or strategizing marketing is not only about creating buzz, right? Creating buzz is very tactic, right? If you have like a very specific campaign or something that is time sensitive and you want to create buzz very, very quickly, just around one single messaging or any specific occasion, that's okay. That's one of the tools that you have in your toolbox as a marketeer, but that's not the essence. That's not the essence of marketing or how to, I would say, architecture marketing strategy wisely.
This show is brought to you by the Global Talent Co., a marketing leader's best friend in these times of budget cuts and efficient growth. We help marketing leaders find, hire, vet, and manage amazing marketing talent for 50 to 70% less than their US and European counterparts. To book a free consultation, visit globaltalent.co.
What else, when it comes to your marketing point of view, that is maybe counter to what others widely believe?
Well, I have a very, I would say, simple playbook that works for me and work for my team. And it's structured with 4 very definitive stages. It starts all with research. I think that it's super important. Sometimes, we were talking about creating buzz. Sometimes, marketers get into the loop of just creating buzz, creating the next campaign, creating, the new flashy asset. And they forget to do the research. They forget to learn the audience. They forget to understand the personas and where their persona or their ICPs right now. And in the context of, all the disruptive technologies that are coming out, in, how the economy is behaving. So being in some kind of ongoing research and invest a lot in doing user interviews and customer interviews and listen to sales calls and analyze them and listen to market signals. I think it's super, super important. We were able to feed the product team as marketeers with many, many insights that actually impacted on the product roadmap just by doing the market research properly and maintaining it. So this is the first stage, the research. And the second one is obviously building the narrative. I'm more about building narrative strategy and content strategy and not just, copywriting for a campaign. But also when I talk about narrative, it's basically taking the strategy and translate the insight into a sharp one-liner. Once you do that, it makes everything else much easier. Then the third stage, obviously, is the channel. So take this narrative, activate the narrative into top 3 intent-rich arenas, whether if it's LinkedIn or even printed assets or any other channels. And then data loop. That's the fourth stage. Always, we call it win or learn. It's either you win it or you learn, you take a lesson learned and you learn how you can optimize it and do better with that. So that's pretty much how most of our marketing strategies work.
When it comes to the narrative, is there a framework that you've drawn inspiration from? Like for me, for example, I don't know if you know Andy Raskin, but he invented strategic narrative. I use something similar to that. I've evolved it for myself. Do you have a framework that you've built out or been inspired by?
Yeah. And you know what? And it's a funny story. What brought me to this, I would say, format is basically it came from the built-in disadvantage that I have. And the built-in disadvantage that I have is that I'm not fluent in English, right? English is not my mother tongue. And my rule about putting messaging that resonates is to shorten the messaging as much as I can. Because my understanding or my assumption is the more complicated the sentence is or the messaging is, the higher probability that I'll make an English mistake, right? So I always look how to shorten it into a very, very few words in one sentence. And I found out that the more I shorten it into a one-liner with strong and impactful components, it makes the best out of it. So I kind of took this weakness, I would call it, and turn it into a plan.
That has to be an amazing advantage because I think every copywriter, every marketer, even myself, I have to constantly tell myself, like, dumb it down, make it more simple, just speak in a way that people could actually understand it. You default to that probably, which is really nice. What about advice? And this will be our final question. I'm seeing we just have a couple minutes left. So Let's imagine that you're sitting down with a VP of marketing. They're just now starting a new role. What advice would you have for them for the first 90 days to really succeed?
Listen, that's the best advice. I think one of the things with marketing, we are very expressive, right? Marketing is all about being expressive and put the messaging out and communicate and everything. But sometimes when you are a very expressive person, you forget to listen. And I think that 90% of understanding the market, sensing your customers, sensing the economy and the dynamics is by listening internally in the company. So sit with the R&D team, sit with the product team, sit with your CEO and the leadership, of course, and anybody else. And also when you go out with external resources, try to map out all the stakeholders in the customer journey. If there is only one champion or one decision maker, or maybe there are many, many other stakeholders, and listen to everybody, probably that will make 90% of your work as a good marketeer.
Amazing. I love it. All right, man, we're going to wrap here. This has been a really fun conversation. Before we do, if there's any marketers listening in that just want to follow along with you and your journey, where should we send them?
First of all, my LinkedIn profile for sure. And if they want to hear more about Healthee and what we do at Healthee and how we make healthcare better and more affordable and effortless, they can check out on our website, healthee.com.
Amazing. Thanks so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Brett. I enjoyed it.
This episode of Category Visionaries is brought to you by Frontlines Media, Silicon Valley's leading podcast production studio. If you're a B2B founder looking for help launching and growing your own podcast, visit frontlines.io/podcast. And for the latest episode, search for Category Visionaries on your podcast platform of choice. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.